as that he made it to the finish, and professionals do like to have that pride to say, well, I was there at the end, but I think deep in his heart, even he knows that this was all down to the courtesy of Ali. And there's the replay in the last round. And you watch as Mathis gets up there. Now I'm going to try and have a word with Ali.
Say goodbye for the ringside. Yeah. Hang on. Reggie, let it go.
Well, Denny, turn around.
But Ali went over there to commiserate with Buster Mathis, who was burst there into tears, so Ali has moved away from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad, that was a curious scene. I was
Angelo,
right next to your trainer, Angie Dundee.
You got the mouthpiece,
Seemed
Angelo.
that the man was utterly out on his feet. Why couldn't you put him away? Did you hold back?
Okay. Every time there's been a brain concussion or killer in boxing, it was because one fighter was in a helpless condition and the referee wouldn't stop it. If the referee had any sense, anybody in the world could have seen that that man was finished and just letting him stay there was public crucifixion. There wasn't no way for that man to win. He lost every round, and he hadn't won that round. He was completely unconscious on his feet, and it should have been stopped. And I hope the fool boxing judgments, fool judgment systems that we have around here will stop fights and see people hurt, because as soon as one killed, they want to say you wouldn't go to the army to fight for your country, and you like to kill, then why did you kill that man?
All right.
So leave me alone and shut up and be glad you saw a good fight.
Listen, Muhammad.
And my next fight's in Zurich, Switzerland with
Jürgen
Blin. I want everybody to know we just signed for another fight next month. We're after Joe Frazier, and he's running, he's ducking, and he's talking about he won't fight for a few years. And I hope the public bring him on out with that title and defend it like I did. I'm still resurrecting the game, although they say I'm not the champion.
All right, Muhammad, did you feel that when he went down for the first time, it was from the strength of your blow?
It was the linger on. It's just what I've told you. It was the linger on punch. Naturally, it was linger on, and he was fatigued too. We both were tired. And I'm not going to deliberately kill or hurt nobody in the ring just to please these bloodthirsty fight crowds who just want to thrill for a few seconds.
Final question, were you satisfied with your performance overall tonight?
Well, not really, because for some reason I was a little slow getting started, and I should have threw more combinations. But Buster Mathis is a good boxer, and you just can't punch him around at will until you get him unconscious, like I did.
Go on in and get cooled off.
Mohammed, why did you carry him like that? Why did you carry him like that, Mohammed? Were you satisfied?
I didn't carry him. I think the best precaution in boxing, I hope I can give an example to the world, is when a fella's crucially hurt, when he's physically out, and you know you have the fight won. It was the last round, and the man was completely unconscious. There was no chance for him to come back, and the referee should have been smart enough, and the judicial system of boxing should have seen that the man was finished and stopped it. So somebody should still show some type of civilization and quit trying to hurt or kill a man and give him a brain concussion or blood clot just to please a damn crowd.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, and I hope we'll be seeing you in Britain very soon.
We'll see it in Switzerland. Zurich, Switzerland.
Caesars Palace Hotel of Las Vegas, Nevada welcomes you to the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum for tonight's 12-round heavyweight main event. Ring officials have been assigned here by the New York State Athletic Commission, James A. Farley Jr. Chairman.
Directly above us in his corner. Okay, he's announcing the referee and the judges. The judges are Artie Idala and Tony Castellano, both respected men with
long boxing pass as officials. The referee,
heavyweight champion of the world. He weighs 224.5 pounds. Smoking Joe Frazier.
I'd say there are about 16,000 people here, all of them cheering for Joe Frazier.
Former heavyweight champion of the world, 224.5 pounds, George Foreman. 12 rounds, main event.
That's not easy for George Foreman to take. He remembers the way it was on an October day in 1968 in the wake of the Tommy Smith and John Carlos Black Power protests during the 19th Olympiad in Mexico City. He remembers how it was. Now watch this.
Now, when I tell you to break, I want you to step back.
George Foreman, who was once a sparring partner for the late Charles Sonny Liston, using the baleful stare approach. Look at that. The same way Liston did. It's unaccountable. It happened. I don't think it'll have any effect on Joe Frazier. All right. The referee is Harold Vallon. I'll tell you more about Harold Vallon later. But he refereed the Ellis-Patterson fight in Stockholm in 1968. And he was a controversy by himself. Round one, action underway. Now will Joe stay away from it? Can Joe change his style? Joe will bob and weave as he always does. You can be sure of that. The left hook, missing. Foreman remembering the way it was first time around. Joe bobbing. It didn't start this way, as you saw earlier in Kingston, Jamaica. But George is big. He comes at you. Foreman is throwing leather. He's got Frazier against the ropes. And Foreman is punching crisply. They're not those long looping punches. Foreman has confidence against Joe Frazier. This is not Frazier pursuing Ali. It's a different kind of fight. There are horses for courses. There are styles for fighters. Foreman is punching away at Joe Frazier. At left. Looks like a telephone pole when it comes at you from George Foreman. And then there's the right uppercut, his other great weapon. That left keeps getting into Frazier. Again, you saw it there. Then the right. Foreman wants this fight desperate. He says he'll do more damage than he did in the first fight. He says winners get pissed. Bitter about the way people have treated him. I repeat that. It's critical to George Foreman. Foreman the red chance, Frazier the white. Frazier looking so small against the hugeness of Foreman. But it's first round action. And in the first time around, Frazier went down 3 times. Frazier dancing, bobbing, weaving, challenging Foreman. Getting hit by a left and the crowd roars. Good left by Foreman. You saw it. Good left. End of round one. Now the crowd is alive. Now they're seeing 2 men going at it. Each a heavyweight champion of the world. question. Frazier is moving, slipping, trying to, as much as he can. Stay away. Tire Foreman out. Foreman sits in his corner, listening to Charlie Scheitz, working the corner. Howard Albert, Gil Clancy's longtime managerial mate of Emil Griffith, also in Foreman's corner. Round 2. Foreman's glove, 8.5 ounces. Frazier's glove, 8 ounces. A hassle over the weights. Commissioner James Farley Jr. said, I don't care. Foreman punching straight. No longer those long punches. Punching straight, crisply. Foreman with that left getting in there. Utterly confident. Frazier with a good answering left hook. Probably his best punch so far. Foreman getting the right in there. Frazier against the ropes. This is not a rope-a-dope situation. Foreman missed with a good left hook. Foreman steadily the aggressor. Frazier still on the ropes. Now off them, back against. This, folks, is a fight. Look at the countdown in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Second round action. Frazier now in the middle of the ring. Crowd yelled, but that left hook did not connect. Good left by George. This is the crispest punching we've seen from Foreman since before the Ali fight. Frazier with a left hook. Maybe Gil Clancy has taught Foreman something. Good left hook. Got in there. Got in there by Frazier. A better second round for Frazier than the first round. Frazier a notoriously slow start. Always bad in the first round. But Foreman punching away. Dominated in an aggressive set. Coming up to the end of round 2. There it is. And the crowd is alive. Alive for this fight. Let's take a look in slow-mo at that first left by Joe Frazier. Watch this. There's the right lead, the left lead by Foreman. Left again missing, the right scoring, the left missing, and up comes Frazier with the left. Nonetheless, the unofficial scoring around me has it 2 rounds for Foreman, no rounds for Frazier. But Frazier's strategy evolves before your eyes. To stay in there, to bob, to weave, to let Foreman hopefully use himself up to avoid that stunning right uppercut that really caused Frazier's demise in the first fight. And then to come on in his own way, as he has against Ali. Round 3. I don't think I have to identify Frazier for you or Foreman. Now let's see if Joe comes on. Foreman missing with that left. Joe in the middle of the ring this time. He worked the ropes a lot in round 2. Foreman missing with his right. Joe working more aggressively in this round. Note that immediately. Foreman pushing him off. They had a hassle about that before the fight, too. In the first fight, no question, George manhandled Joe. Good right lead by Foreman. Another good right. Oh, Frazier hurt. Frazier hurt by a right lead and then a left. They're out. Steady, insistent. This is a fan's fight. Right by George. George has hurt Joe Frazier in this round. Joe fighting back. Foreman accused Joe of quitting in the first fight. Frazier never quit in his life. Frazier coming back at George. Frazier slips a lot of those punches, but gets hit with too many. George has not taken a backward step. Round 3. Action, action, action. Frazier appears totally, or rather Foreman appears totally unafraid of Frazier. You saw that left again. Did pull Frazier with his left hand behind the neck. Manhandled him. We're almost at the end of round 3. George Foreman's round again. He hurt Joe Frazier in this round. That's the end of the round. Little bit of blood from the right nostril of Joe Frazier. Now let's take a look at that right and the left by George Foreman. Watch it. There's the right. There's the right. And there's the left. And that's when Frazier was hurt in the 3rd round, but no knockdowns thus far in the fight. Harold Vallon, the referee, Artie Idala, and Tony Castellano, the judges. The fight's gone on a round system, New York rule. 3 knockdowns in a round will end the fight automatically. We had that twice in Kingston, Jamaica. We have not, repeat, had a knockdown yet. Foreman right above us, calm, poised, confident.
George Foreman tonight. George Foreman.
Gil Clancy is screaming over here. It's all George Foreman tonight. All George Foreman. We'll see. Round 4. When you've got a tiger like Frazier, you don't ever give up on him. Foreman with the size. Foreman with the reach. And to me, the most revealing thing about Foreman thus far remains to be seen if he'll tire, as he has in the past, has been the direct crispness of his punches. No more long, loping punches coming from behind the ear, but right on. Watch. Oh, a foot right, following the left. You know what this fight means to Joe Frazier. He dreams of a Frazier-Ali 4. He was not staggered there. That was a slip. Don't be misled. How to get inside that jab. How to do the damage. Upwards with the left hook. That's the kind of left hook that staggered Ali in the 11th of Ali Fight 1 and floored him in the 15th of Ali Fight 1. Good left hook there by Joe. So he's had 2 good left hooks in this recent series of exchanges. 2 quick lefts by Joe. Suddenly getting into Foreman. That one missed. uppercut. That's it. Frazier again. The crowd responded. Foreman back. Left. Less than a minute to go, as you can see, in round 4. Ceaseless action. Pushing off to get punching room. They approach the end of round 4. No knockdowns yet. Endless punch. The crowd yelling at every left hook thrown by Frazier. Foreman pushing off again. That's the end of round 4. Frazier's best round of the fight. Now let's go back in slow motion. Watch this right by George Foreman. There it is. Snap the head back. Then watch a left by Joe Frazier. Got in there. Frazier's best round thus far. Round 4.
Yeah, let's set him up for things. Okay.
At ringside, the feeling is that that round was even. Begins to tire. Frazier. Remember how Frazier came on in Manila, beginning with round 5 against Ali? Now he's survived 4 against the bigger, apparently stronger man, although each weighs 224.5. Let's see if Foreman backing up a step or 2. Still punching well. You saw that left snap Frazier's head. Pushing him off. Good right by Foreman. This is not the fellow who staggered about the ring against Ron Lyle. No way. Not up to this point. This is not the fellow who was outsmarted by Ali. Or whatever happened to him in Zaire. Frazier trying to fight back. Foreman dominating. Round 5. Foreman got in good domination. And again, you saw it there. Frazier's hurt. Frazier's hurt again. One right hurt Frazier. Frazier's down. Frazier is down from a right. The mandatory 8 count. The first knockdown in round 5. George Foreman looking revived tonight. Frazier getting the left. Frazier getting the right. Frazier taking it from George Foreman. Foreman again with the right. Second knockdown in the round. One more knockdown. This fight is over. George Foreman struggling to Frazier struggling to his feet. George Foreman poised in the neutral corner. Look at him. In total command now. And Errol Vallon says the fight is over. George Foreman wins in the 5th round by a technical knockout and dreams a whole new dream. Another match against Muhammad Ali. Too big, too strong, imperial. perfect shape. The punches straight and crisp from the very beginning. No sign of fatigue. Frazier as game as ever, but now inevitably the boxing career over for Joe Frazier. A fight of unceasing action, of relentless punching by George Foreman, and of indomitable courage by George Frazier.
The Ringside Network goes toe-to-toe with 24 hours of the sweet science. Get the action, insight, and backstories behind the game on boxing around the globe.
It's gonna get crazy, baby. And still!
Hello and welcome to our show. I'm Brian Jenkins alongside my Ringside Network partner, Dee Dee Mann.
We're coming to you from the boxing capital of the world, Philadelphia, PA, the city that has launched and sustained many a famous boxer's career. Long before the fictional Rocky Balboa climbed the now legendary 72 steps outside Philadelphia's Art Museum, the city was a boxing staple among the greats like Joe Frazier, Joey Giardello, Jolton Jeff Chandler, Benny Briscoe, Willie the Worm Monroe, and many others. They're part of a tradition dating back to the 1940s when Philly became known as the place where the toughest of the tough learned the sweet science in rough and tumble gyms. The Ringside Network comes to you in that tradition with a pledge to bring you the best boxing up close, personal, and pure.
Starting right here, right now with today's show. Straight ahead, a look forward at some of boxing's biggest bouts on the horizon. We'll also place the most popular fighters side by side and see how they stack up next to one another, pound for pound. And later on, boxer Jesse Hart will stop by to chat about being one of the best upcoming boxers, and he'll talk about his goals for this year. But first, round one, a walk on the Wilder side, as in Deontay Wilder. The heavyweight champion is looking to solidify his standing among boxing's big men. Wilder's fresh off a sensational victory over Arthur Spilka. Took place last month. Fans at Brooklyn's Barclays Center saw that. The champ delivered a devastating right hand in the ninth that rendered Spilka unconscious and sent him off in an ambulance. This was one of those devastating hits that seemed to come out of nowhere. One of those punches you don't see because it's coming straight at you, packed with bad intentions. One of those I don't like you and you're going down punches.
The Spilka knockout brought Wilder a step closer to the match sports fans really are primed for. A fight between Wilder and European sensation Tyson Fury. With Wilder versus Spilka barely finished, the 27-year-old Gypsy King stormed into the Barclays Center ring and started trading insults with Wilder. Fury could be heard shouting that he'd beat Wilder, quote, anytime, any place, anywhere. He even called Wilder a bum. To which Wilder replied, you can run around like you're a preacher, but I promise you, when you do step in this ring, I will baptize you. Fury says in his eyes he's the undisputed champion, and he can't wait to prove it. Wilder would like nothing more than to defend his title against Tyson Fury. For his part, Fury has some unfinished business to handle with one-time opponent Vladimir Klitschko, who has obligated to fight in a rematch. Fury is the recognized champion, and beating him would unify the belts. But before Wilder faces Fury, Fury would likely face Klitschko in a rematch of their previous bout. You may recall Fury surprised the boxing world by taking down Klitschko. In that fight, the 39-year-old Klitschko looked dreadful. He landed a horrendous 23% of his 231 punches in their November 28th fight in Germany. And then There's Canelo Alvarez, the 25-year-old Mexican superstar. With his win over Miguel Cotto, Alvarez has elevated himself to a new status and is looking to take on all comers. Looming large in his sights, Gennady Golovkin, the dreaded Triple G. The 33-year-old from Kazakhstan is coming off his own big win on October 17th. In that fight, he unified the WBA and IBF middleweight titles, beating the Canadian slugger David Lemieux. With a 34-0, 31 knockout record, Golovkin is fearsome. Alvarez has a more than respectable 46-1 and 1 record with 32 knockouts. The thought of the two-star fighters has promoters salivating, thinking this could be one of the most lucrative fights the sport has seen.
And we're all certainly waiting for that one. Meantime, with not quite the same purse, but a strong appeal nonetheless, there's good news on the horizon about welterweight Amir Khan possibly facing off against Kell Brook. Now, that really is the fight that British fans want to see, and it's looking very much like it'll happen this year. But before the two can face each other, each has unfinished business to attend to. First includes Brook defending his IBF welterweight title against Kevin Brazier in March. For his part, Khan is the mandatory challenger to the WBC title, which Danny Garcia won by beating Robert Guerrero last month. As the smoke from those two clears, the long-awaited Amir Khan-Kell Brook match seems much more certain. Super middleweight world champion Andre Ward is settling into the light heavyweight division and eyeing his much-anticipated bout with Sergey Kovalev. Those two fighters are on course to meet in the fall for what's expected to be one of the most significant fight events of the year. 31-year-old Ward has moved up in weight, and he's fighting at 175 pounds. He and Kovalev are under contract to HBO, which has signed each of them to multiple fight deals. Both Ward and Kovalev must win their intervening bouts, and once they do, that showdown will happen. That likely will elevate the winner into the cadre of the best pound-for-pound boxers. Joining us now to talk about those fights and give them some context is resident boxing expert Alex Hamer. Alex, thanks for joining us. This has got to be a big year for fight fans.
Thank you, Brian. This will be a big year for fight fans. 3 fights immediately come to mind. The heavyweight division, we have Deontay Wilder. In the middleweight division, we have Canelo Alvarez. And in the light heavyweight division, we have Sergey Kovalev. Let me start with the heavies, the big boys. Wilder will fight Vladimir Klitschko or Tyson Fury. The fans really want to see Tyson Fury. Everyone saw how he jumped in the ring after the Arthur Spilker fight and challenged Deontay Wilder. That's going to be a fight that fans are really looking forward to.
And really spicing up the heavyweight division as well.
The heavyweight division will be spiced up. Let me get to Canelo Alvarez out of Mexico. He's truly a rock star, okay? He has millions and millions of fans around the globe, from South America, through North America, and through Europe. Sergey Kovalev will probably fight, not probably, but will fight Andre Ward in 2016. Andre Ward is signed with Rock Nation. This will be your blue-collar Russian fighter versus the hip-hop star Andre, the Son of God Ward. And those 3 fights for 2016 will be very, very intriguing to the boxing world.
And Alex, who's your favorite of these?
I kind of like Deontay Wilder. He'll force his personality on the opponent and force his will on the opponent and be able to win. So Deontay Wilder is my pick.
When boxing around the globe continues, we'll see how the current crop of boxers stacks up against one another. Then later, we'll have a word with boxing's rising star, Jesse Hardwork Hart.
Trivia question: who was the first boxer to knock down Muhammad Ali in his professional career? Was it Pernell Whitaker, Joe Frazier, John Henry Lewis, or Sonny Banks?
From a business perspective, what would you anticipate, Joe, if he's the victor after going forward?
Oh, I mean, look, it's been a great ride now. It keeps mushrooming and snowballing out. People they know who he is. He's been able to show the character that he has inside and outside of the ring, the winner that he is. But beating Manny Pacquiao makes him not just a star or a growing star, but a superstar.
Exactly.
Really, he can become the next face in boxing.
Right.
And that's what a win like this does.
And our trivia question, who was the first boxer to knock down Muhammad Ali in his professional career? The answer, D, Sonny Banks.
And now, round 2. It's the question everyone wants an answer to. Who's the best boxer around? Brian, care to weigh in on this?
I've got an opinion just like everyone else does, but that's a tough call. Lots of good talent out there. RSN put together a group of boxing experts who came up with a list of top 10 fighters pound for pound. Joining us now to share those rankings is RSN's Charisma McElwain. And Charisma, first off, for the novices out there, how do we rank boxers?
Well, Brian and Didi, that's a very good question. You rank fighters in several ways, according to their body of work, their competition, how decisive their win was, the fighter's popularity, the economic impact of their fight, the number of titles they have, and intangibles like work ethic.
Wow, lots to consider.
Indeed.
All right, well, let's get started. Let's talk about number 10.
Number 10 is Tim Bradley, a.k.a. Desert Storm.
Wow, good choice. He put in a lot of work if you saw him against Pacquiao.
He did indeed. And fun fact, he's actually been on a vegan diet since 2008 for his fights.
How about that? He doesn't look it.
Not at all. The 32-year-old Bradley is a 2-time WBO welterweight champion, a 2-time former WBC light welterweight champion, and former WBO light welterweight champion as well. RSN ranks him at 10 due to his loss to Manny Pacquiao.
Who do we have at number 9?
That would be Jesse Hardwork Hart.
Now watch what you say about Jesse Hart. He's right here in our studio today.
No worries, I have nothing bad to say. I would not want to go toe-to-toe with him. Number 8 is Vasyl Lomachenko.
Lomachenko, let's see. The 27-year-old Ukrainian, he calls himself high-tech. This guy's got an amateur record, 396-1.
That is quite impressive. Many consider him to be one of the most skilled fighters in the sport today, and some would even argue he's the greatest amateur boxer of all time. He's won Olympic gold in 2008 and 2012, and he's got international experience to spare, so this is definitely one of boxing's bright lights. Manny Pacquiao is coming in at number 7.
And well paid too. His bout last year with Floyd Mayweather saw some of the heftiest dollars exchange hands in the boxing history.
That payday was a good one for everyone involved, Didi. I wish I was a part of it, but even though the fight itself was a bit of a letdown, no one can base Pacquiao's fight just on that. So overall, this is still one of boxing's best pound for pound, and Pacquiao has won championships in 7 different weight classes, from featherweight to junior middleweight. So you could make the argument that he should be higher on the list, but ultimately we placed him here thanks to the loss to Mayweather and his 2012 loss to Juan Manuel Marquez.
And we're still scratching our heads over that one. Of course, the 37-year-old Pacquiao is in the twilight of his career, and he's still moving along. We'll see what he does to cap it off. Next on the list.
Next on the list is Terrence Crawford at number 6.
Terrence Crawford of Omaha. Let's see, the last time I heard Omaha was when Peyton Manning was calling snaps. But Omaha, Nebraska, got some great talent coming out in Terrence.
True indeed. Terrence Crawford, even though you don't normally hear a lot of fighters coming out of Omaha, there still might be a bunch of people that don't know or haven't heard of Crawford, but believe me, this boxer is the truth. At 27-0 with 19 KOs, he's one of boxing's rising stars, albeit quietly rising. This 27-year-old WBO junior welterweight has lots of potential and is definitely one to watch.
Since his breakout year in 2013, he's been steadily on the move. Charisma, I expect more people will have something to say about Omaha and about him in the months ahead. Now, our next fighter isn't also from Omaha, is he?
No, not at all, Didi. Andre, son of God, or SOG Ward, hails from the Bay Area in California, where it's nice and sunny.
SOG, the Ring Magazine's super middleweight champion.
Yes, the former WBC, WBA lineal champ, who is represented by Jay-Z's Rock Nation, is going to be a well-promoted big name and personality on the march. With 28 wins and no losses to go, with his 15 knockouts, this is someone with serious skills who's poised to make a bigger name for himself. This 31-year-old is a good technician, a former gold medalist at the 2004 Olympics, and Ward is very much on the comeback trail after spending most of 2013 nursing injuries and being inactive in 2014.
No question, he's someone we'll want to keep our eyes on and watch how well he returns to form. Of course, just one word standing in the way of his legacy, Kovalev. We'll see how that comes out.
Ouch. Number 4, I'm going to say this only once, so listen very closely. Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan.
You nailed it.
Did I?
You mean Canelo Alvarez?
Yes, Canelo Alvarez. The red-maned Mexican superstar who's lighting up the boxing world. He's got 46 wins against 1 loss, and 32 of his wins were by knockout. That 1 loss, by the way, was to Floyd Mayweather. The Russian Sergey Kovalev occupies the number 3 spot.
Kovalev is the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Yes, that he is effectively. He holds all the major belts but 1 in his weight class. He's a 32-year-old with 28 victories. All but 3 of those were by knockout.
And it's worth pointing out that with Kovalev's amateur record, 193-22.
Wow.
This is somebody who's been prolific, a fearsome fighter for a very long time. We're just about at the top of our list, but not before we share number 2, Charisma.
Number 2 is Nicaragua's Roman Gonzalez, better known as Chocolito.
Well, some have Chocolito ranked at number 1. He might get a little upset about this.
You know, I think you're right, Brian, but after all, who doesn't like Chocolito? At just 28 years old, Chocolito Gonzalez has 193 rounds of boxing in him and has emerged victorious all of the 44 times he stepped into the ring. 38 of this flyweight's opponents have fallen by knockout. And at number 1, drum roll please, is Triple G.
The dreaded Triple G, Gennady Golovkin.
Dreaded if you're squaring off against him in the ring for sure. A staggering 91% of this 33-year-old middleweight's 34 fights, or 31 of them, have concluded in a knockout. Triple G was born in Kazakhstan, and apparently he tries to knock each of his opponents back there. Winning the majority of his bouts decisively. In a word, Triple G is fearless.
He certainly is. He has earned that title in every fight. Thanks, Charisma. Good job.
Thank you.
Well, as Dee Dee mentioned earlier in the segment, one of the fighters included in our list is Jesse Hart.
As luck would have it, he just happens to be here with us in our studio today. When we return, Brian and Jesse will have a little chat.
Harold, Alex Hammer from Ringside Network. I wanted to get your opinion on Sergey, the Russian that's going to fight Bernard Hopkins on November 8th. Can you tell us what you think about that preliminarily?
Sergey Kovalev is probably the hardest hitter in boxing today. Huge puncher. The guy's got a right hand that'll just knock you dead. And, you know, he's been knocking out everybody. And not only that, he's been knocking out everybody in the early rounds, too. You know, Nathan Cleverly and all the guys he's fought recently, Ismail Salak, you know, decent fighters, and he's just been bowling them over. Right. I mean, he's undefeated. He only has 1 draw on his record. Right. I think he's 25-0. And, you know, 23 knockouts. So you can't argue with his power. Of course, he's never fought a guy that you know, is a good defensive fighter that's going to hit him back.
Welcome back to Boxing Around the Globe. We're joined now by Jesse Hart. He is the USBA super middleweight champion, on our list of top 10 best fighters pound for pound. Thanks for coming on and joining us today, Jesse. Appreciate having you.
Man, it's a pleasure.
Let me ask you this. In the boxing game, you know, you toil in the gym and you got so much competition out there. You had the advantage, and let me ask you if it's an advantage. Last year, you fought Aaron Pryor Jr. They say that politics and promotion is what determines who gets the shot. And you both had big names. You both had dads with big names. Did that help elevate your career to get you in the mindset of the boxing world?
Well, I believe it did. You know, all the pressure was on the both of us as being sons of 2 legendary champions such as Aaron Pryor Jr. and my dad, Cyclone Hart. It was just such a big thing for the boxing world because you had two sons, fathers that fought in that 15-round era. I had a lot of pressure on me just from my own father.
I can imagine. You were talking about the fact that he was number 3, where you are now,
right,
and that he stopped short of chasing the championship.
Right.
Do you get a sense that he's put that on you?
Yes, I think that's what he wanted me to take it further than he did. And he keeps saying that I got complacent when I was number 3, and I want you to take it further than I did, son. And that's the goal, to be champion now. You know, I got the number 3, now you number 3, but you're going to be the champion of the world. I'm not going to let you get civilized. But my dad, he always say, man, I want you to be better than me. I want you to be in the boxing Hall of Fame.
Now you got one fight ahead of you that determines who you fight for the championship, correct?
Right. March 18th, I'll be fighting here in Philadelphia. You know, and that determines what I'll be fighting for the title after March. Whoever wins out of Gilberto Ramirez and Arthur Abraham, that's who I will be fighting sometime in the fall.
All right. Well, good luck. You ready?
More than ready. Can't wait to get in there.
We'll be watching you.
Oh, man,
thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
2015 was a great year for boxing, and some moments from last year still have us talking about them and setting up for great storylines this year.
Starting with the fight of the year between Francisco Vargas and Takashi Miura. Vargas, a messy right eye. Vargas appeared on his way to defeat. He was badly beaten when he rallied for an amazing comeback. In electrifying fashion, Vargas knocked out Miura in the 9th round to win a junior lightweight world title on the Miguel Cotto Canelo Alvarez undercard at the Mandalay Bay Events Center. It was one of Vargas's 17 KOs, who is 23-0 and 1.
That was a great fight, but the best knockout of the year came during the Canelo-Kirkland match. May 9th, Canelo Alvarez hooked up with power brawler James Kirkland in front of a raucous 31,000-plus crowd at Houston's Minute Maid Park, and they did not disappoint. It was a slugfest that concluded violently with Alvarez destroying Kirkland with one whopper of a right hand. The shot connected with Kirkland's jaw and spun him halfway around into the ropes and sent him crashing to the canvas. Kirkland required medical attention and was taken to the hospital for precautionary reasons.
Our fighter of the year is Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. We mentioned him, of course, in the last segment as one of our pound-for-pound best boxers. Gonzalez is the current WBC and the Ring Magazine flyweight champion. He's also laid claim to the WBA light flyweight and WBA minimum weight championships. At 28 years old, he's stepping now into his prime.
And last on our list, John David Jackson is our trainer of the year.
Boxing Around the Globe continues right after this.
Well, that's it for today's show. Whether it's around the corner, across the nation, or overseas, you'll find it right here on RSN's Boxing Around the Globe. For Dee Mann and Charisma McElwain, I'm Brian Jenkins. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you ringside.
Welcome, boxing fans, to another edition of Boxing Around the Globe, exclusively on the Ringside Network, your ringside seat. I'm your host, Rich Quinones, and thanks so much for joining us. We are so happy to be able to be back in studio talking some boxing. We have a jam-packed show. Charisma McElwain will join us in a little bit. We'll get her thoughts on what's going on with female boxing, and I'm going to ask Charisma, are we going to finally get to see Wilder and Fury 3? That should be a great segment. Don't forget, too, later on in the program, our boxing expert, Alex Hamer, he's going to join us as him and I kind of go back and forth between rounds, and we break down Lopez and Lomachenko. That's slated for October 17th. 19th. We'll close it out with Alex's famous and sometimes controversial Top 10 that's presented by the aforementioned Ringside Network. So with that being said, let's get it underway. Our opening bell. Well, if you haven't seen boxing in a while, let alone sports, you know why. It's the COVID-19. We all had to deal with it. The pandemic halted all sports in the U.S. in March. From March until June, boxing took an 8 count but refused to be counted out. The boxing gods immediately went back to the drawing board to come up with some concrete solutions to a real problem. In walks Top Rank. They submit a 20-page proposal to the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The plan included all types of safety measures to protect the fighters and their trainers, which is a smart idea. The infamous bubble at the MGM Grand Center was created where all the fighters can be quarantined to make sure they were COVID-19 free before stepping back into the ring and giving the fans what we crave, some action. But no fans were allowed in the arena. We had to watch on TV. No press allowed. They had to do their due diligence and really watch and research and write up on these fights. And if you go back to June 9th, the first fight in the bubble was Newark's Shakur Stevenson, who scored a scintillating, dominating 6-round knockout over Felix Caraballo. One of the boxers, we don't know who, told the Ringside Network that fighting in the bubble was almost like sparring, and it was something that a fighter would have to get used to. Looks like we're going to have to get used to this controlled environment, as well as the fighters and the fans, at least until the end of the year. All right, so 1 round is in the books. Keep it locked in here to Boxing Around the Globe right here on the Ringside Network. We're going to step aside. When we come back, our boxing expert, the knowledgeable Charisma McElwain, will give us a little insight on Fury and Wilder. Are we going to get them for the 3rd time? We're going to talk a little female boxing with her as well. And as always, get social with us on Twitter at RSN_TV, hashtag Boxing Around the Globe. Because when we talk to Alex a little later on in the program, you are definitely want to go and have a little fun with him on social media when he presents his top 10 as we close out another edition of Boxing Around the Globe. Lace him up. We'll step aside. We'll come back right after this.
Let Ed Sr. and his staff at Samson Motors show you how easy it is to buy a quality used car in Philadelphia. Samson Motors believes in fair prices, superior service, and treating you right. Their knowledgeable staff is there for you. Credit issues? Not at Samson Motors. Let Marcus from their finance department help you. Call Marcus at 215-288-6050. That's 215-288-6050. You can find Samson Motors in the Great Northeast at 6221 Harbinson Avenue in Philadelphia. Check out their large pre-owned inventory anytime at SamsonMotorsPhilly.com.
My name is Dan Gattuso, owner of Dry Guys Basement Systems. We cover all of southern New Jersey and southeast Pennsylvania. One of our biggest parts of our industry is basement and crawl space waterproofing. We offer things that nobody in that industry can. There's a lot of patented products we use that actually allows you to straighten your walls even over time. If you have a bowed wall, we can straighten it out for you. We're not afraid to stand behind products we know are the best in the industry.
Welcome back, boxing fans, to this edition of Boxing Around the Globe, exclusively on the Ringside Network. And, of course, your ringside seat. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Thanks for taking a ride with us through the opening round. My goodness, you know, the show always has this phonetical fast pace, and that's okay. That's the way we like it, just like heavyweights. And to talk a little bit about some heavyweights, Wilder Fury, are we going to get that 3rd bout? We have to bring in our boxing expert, Charisma McElwain. And Charisma, I'll tell you, you talk about Wilder and you talk about Fury. This is a fight I know you want to see. Charisma, I know I want to see this. What's the latest on this one?
Well, you want to see it, I want to see it. The fans have been waiting for it. You might have to wait a little bit longer, though. The rematch that every fan has been anticipating, Fury versus Wilder 3, was planned initially for July 18th. And because of COVID, it was postponed until October 3rd. Now fans and we have to wait yet again because now the rematch is planned for December 19th. The anticipated venue is the new Raiders home, the Allegiant Stadium, and that stadium holds 65,000 people. So packing in 15 to 20,000 people should handle the social distancing problems. Bob Arum, the president of Top Rank, said the fight has received offers from Macau and China and venues in Australia. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But what are your thoughts, Rich?
I'm not a patient man. I need to see these two go at it. We've been waiting so long for some boxing, and I know later on we're also going to talk a little female boxing, which I'm sure you're excited of. But listen, tell the viewers what we have in store as the show progresses.
Well, fans, don't go anywhere, because just after the next segment, we're going to have boxing expert Alex Hamer come and talk his pound for pound top 10. It's going to be controversial, but that's what we like here in boxing, because we like to fight. But don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Ringside Network and Boxing Around the Globe right after this.
Let Ed Sr. and his staff at Samson Motors show you how easy it is to buy a quality used car in Philadelphia. Samson Motors believes in fair prices, superior service, and treating you right. Their knowledgeable staff is there for you. Credit issues? Not at Samson Motors. Let Marcus from their finance department help you. Call Marcus at 215-288-6050. That's 215-288-6050. You can find Samson Motors in the Great Northeast at 6221 Harbinson Avenue in Philadelphia. Check out their large pre-owned inventory anytime at SamsonMotorsPhilly.com.
Welcome back to this edition of Boxing Around the Globe, exclusively on the Ringside Network. Rich Quinones here. Thanks for joining us. And I'm telling you, as this show is starting to speed up in the middle rounds, we can't wait to get to some of the late rounds. But before we do that, we'll throw it back over to our boxing expert, Charisma, and we're talking a little bit about the female fighters. You teased it wonderfully going into the break. Jessica McCaskill, Cecilia Brakehouse. That was a heck of a fight between these two.
Thanks, Rich. As you know, I love talking about the ladies of boxing. Cecilia Brakehouse, known affectionately as the First Lady of Boxing, lost a close majority decision to investment banker turned boxer Jessica McCaskill. At the end of the fight, Brakehouse indicated that she might retire. Cecilia suffered her first loss in 11 years as a professional fighter. McCaskill, on the other hand, only has 10 professional fights. The fight was a hard-fought welterweight contest between the two women, and even though Ringside Network had scored in favor of Brakehouse, the decision really could have gone either way. In confirming the rematch, Brakehouse told RSN she thought she did not fight at 100%, and she didn't want to go out on a career worst performance. She felt she owed it to her fans all over the world. I don't know. I don't think I'm ready for her to retire. What do you think?
Listen, I think to each his own. We can't tell these fighters when to give up the sport, but I'm telling you, how about female boxing over the last 3, 4, 5 years? I mean, there are so many great, notable female fighters to really watch and to follow, especially on social media.
So who are some of your favorite female boxers?
It's an excellent, that's a body shot question. Caught me off guard on that one. Listen, Amanda, the Serrano sisters, Heather Hardy, who made the transition from boxing to MMA, Christina Cruz, who grew up in Hell's Kitchen, was a storied amateur boxer on the New York boxing scene. And then we have to pay homage to the Mia St. Johns and the Marine O'Shea's of the world, the $1 Million Babies. So, but I tend to agree with you. You know, at times you hate to see some of these fighters retire, but sometimes it is also in their best interest.
I guess we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, we're going to have to fingers crossed on that one, but I'm telling you, keep it locked in with a lot of these female fighters. They're doing a heck of a job. Excellent segment, Charisma. We appreciate it. All right, so listen, as we start rolling along, we got to remind you guys to get social with us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter at @RSN_TV. And the reason you're going to have to do that, and hashtag Boxing Around the Globe, because later on in the program, Charisma already made mention of it before, Alex Hamer is going to give us his pound for pound top 10 Ringside Network list. And you guys are going to want to hashtag Boxing Around the Globe. You're going to want to hashtag the Ringside Network. You're going to want to hashtag, you can hashtag Alex Hamer. It doesn't matter, because I know it's going to be a controversial list. We're going to step aside. When we come back, I'm going to give you a little insight on a little segment, a little drama going on between some of the media, some of the networks, some of the CEOs. We like to title that one, The Hatfield and McCoys. Boxing Around the Globe continues right after this.
My name is Dan Gattuso, owner of Dry Guys Basement Systems. We cover all of southern New Jersey and southeast Pennsylvania. One of our biggest parts of our industry is basement and crawl space waterproofing. We offer things that nobody in that industry can. There's a lot of patented products we use that actually allows you to straighten your walls even over time. If you have a bowed wall, we can straighten it out for you. We're not afraid to stand behind products we know are the best in the industry.
Let Ed Sr. and his staff at Samson Motors show you how easy it is to buy a quality used car in Philadelphia. Samson Motors believes in fair prices, superior service, and treating you right. Their knowledgeable staff is there for you. Credit issues? Not at Samson Motors. Let Marcus from their finance department help you. Call Marcus at 215-288-6050. That's 215-288-6050. You can find Samson Motors in the Great Northeast at 6221 Harbinson Avenue in Philadelphia. Check out their large pre-owned inventory anytime at SamsonMotorsPhilly.com.
Welcome back, boxing fans, to this edition of Boxing Around the Globe, exclusively on the Ringside Network, your ringside seat. Rich Quinones here, back in the saddle. And, you know, as we start to really get into the show, we got to remind you, we'll close it out with a preview of Lopez and Lomachenko, and then, of course,